My small Showman'S engine needs some repairs. This is part 1. Why does my small Showman'S engine need repairing? Just sitting on the sideboard is all that it's done since I last worked on it, and yet some parts are broken. One of the canopy supports is damaged, and most of the LED lights along one side don't light up at all. Plus, the flywheel needs repainting. I've owned this traction engine for quite a few years now. Originally I bought it via eBay, and the really remarkable thing was it was in Dewsbury, the town that I used to live in. And even more remarkable, I could see the man's house from my house. I walked down to see him and we negotiated, we agreed a price, and I picked up the traction engine later that day. It did need quite a lot of work. I threw away quite a few of the parts and remade them. The original paint on the canopy was very badly damaged, and it took me quite a while to put it all right. This is a really great innovation on this traction engine. It's the seat which doubles as the hand pump. What a great idea. As I was saying, it took me quite a while to put this right, and in those days I didn't video anything. I repainted the flywheel, but over time the paint has cracked. It sort of looks okay, but I'm going to redo it. When I think back to the time of painting this flywheel, I do remember applying the paint a bit thick. I'm going to stop talking over this part. Right, I'm back, and as you can see, some of the LEDs are not working. In fact, most of them down the right hand side don't work. I think I know why, and it's a simple fix. Why did I put so many LEDs on this traction engine? I did intend to use it as a table lamp on the sideboard, with all of the LEDs powered by a mains power supply. I really am puzzled about this. The front support for the canopy has come apart. The spiral brass parts are just soft soldered into the ball type fittings. A few years ago I sold this engine to a friend of mine because I needed the money. It's a bit like a loan system, using the traction engine as security. Anyway, after a while I bought it back, thankfully at the same price I sold it for. But the new owner hadn't looked after it, so it was damaged. So I fixed it and put it all back together, cleaned it, and it's sat on my sideboard ever since. I brought it to its current location from the previous house that I sold in 2018, and I know for certain that it didn't get damaged in the move, because I was the only one who handled it, so I don't know how this damage has occurred. All I know is it needs repairing. Here I'm taking the canopy off. The canopy was never really very well held to the engine to start with. The idea being, if I wanted to steam the engine, I didn't want to steam it with the canopy on. Painting the canopy white was never really a smart idea, but it does look good. A couple of the inner brass uprights weren't fastened to the canopy. This was just to make it a quicker job to remove. Here's the canopy upside down in the workshop, and you may be thinking, what is that brown box? Well, it's a 6 to 30 volt regulator. Obviously the dynamo speed varies relative to the speed of the engine, and so the power output also varies. But once the power gets past a certain level, this regulator holds it constant for the LEDs. The brass cover in the centre is removable to allow a screwdriver to adjust the output voltage, but I never needed to touch it once I'd set it. There is one thing I need to do to this engine, and that is remove the nameplate. I named it Gloria after my second wife, and I only named it Gloria in the first place so she wouldn't go on too much about the fact that I'd paid a lot of money for a model traction engine. There were no other people involved in the divorce. I just got to the stage where it was either I put her in the acid bath or got a divorce, and I thought the divorce was definitely the lesser of the two evils. I'm running this clip in very slow motion to make the most of removing the nameplate. I'll probably fit some more nameplates, but that's not important at this stage. This traction engine will run on very little pressure. So little at the moment there's not enough to even blow the whistle. Here I'm testing the functionality of all the moving parts, the drain cocks, and this lever which operates the steam blower valve. When I first bought this traction engine, as I was putting it all back together, I performed a hydraulic test on the boiler and everything was fine, and I steamed it on many occasions. But back in those days I did not make videos about my hobby. This close-up shows how the lever operates the blower valve. The lever next to it operates the drain cocks to drain the condensate from the cylinder. Even though the engine is running quite fast, the pressure is very low in the boiler. This Showman'S engine has a crane attachment fitted. It's very easy to remove for driving and to show the hand pump working. In case you're wondering why everything is working so smoothly, it's quite simple. I left water in this traction engine because there's not much danger of the water freezing when the engine is on the sideboard in my lounge. Here I'm just applying some oil to all the moving parts. The chain needs a bit of adjustment. It's fairly slack, but at least it's turning the wheels. Even though this engine is small, it's very powerful indeed. As previously mentioned, this normally lives on my sideboard. And I noticed that the sideboard top needs a bit of repair because it's come apart. It was obviously designed at a time when sideboards didn't support traction engines. This small bucket is functional. If you look in the bottom of it, you can see that there's some oil in there. Because what happens is, I lubricate the pump ram using oil. The other end of the pump ram, the bit that's in front of the O-ring, is lubricated by the water that the pump is pumping. But generally, I do apply some oil to most moving parts. In this close-up, you can see why I have a bucket underneath it, which conveniently catches all of the oil drips. I'm going to stop talking now and just run the engine to the end of the video. This concludes part 1, and I'd just like to say, as I always do, stay safe, stay healthy. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.